Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Walvik from Biochemistry Department. In the continuation of discussion regarding carbohydrate metabolism, in the last class, we dealt with the glycogenesis, glycogenolysis. You are knowing the meaning of that one. And then the glucose is stored in the form of glycogen that is referred as the pathway as the glycogenesis, whereas if the breakdown of that glycogen which is stored, it will follow in another pathway which is considered as the glycogenolysis. These are the ones which are having different pathways, though they appear as reversible with each other. They have got their own separate pathway and the enzymes. Similarly, later on, we discussed about the hexose-monophosphate chain, that is the one which is the alternating pathway for the oxidation of the glucose, and main purpose of that pathway is to clean out the ribose by sugar, that is pentose sugar, for the further utilization of that one in the synthesis of the nucleic acid, or you can call that further DNA and RNA. Similarly, one more product synthesized by this pathway is the NADPH, which is the one which is getting involved in the so many byproduct reactions wherein you can find its presence like the formation of steroids, cholesterol, and that is the one which helps the RBC for the detoxification by of the hydrogen peroxide. And also another characteristic we can mention is regarding the maintenance of the iron in the ferrous state. So that these are all the things which we learned in the last class in the course of HMP pathway. Similarly, there is another pathway which you can classify that as a small pathway, which you can call that as the uronic pathway. Apart from this one, we will also discuss today regarding the galactose metabolism and also the fructose one. Today, first we will start with the uronic pathway. So, as I said, it is the one which is utilized for oxidation of the glucose and a parallel or alternative pathway, and it occurs in the cytoplasm and mainly found in the liver and adipose tissue, and its main function is to produce the glucuronic acid, which is the one mainly it is used for the detoxification of some foreign objects and the drugs, and also it is the one which is required in the synthesis of the bilirubin. When you look at the bilirubin will be formed into the conjugated one, that is when it gets conjugated with the glucuronic acid, it becomes more soluble, and further its utilization or excretion will take place properly. And also it is used for the synthesis of the xylulose and vitamin C, that is ascorbic acid, though it is not one which is produced in the human body and guinea pigs, whereas it is the one wherein the ascorbic acid can be synthesized in other mammals with the help of this glucuronic acid by the way of uronic acid pathway, and its chemical formula is C6H10 O7. It is the one which is used, as I said, to make the bilirubin more water soluble bulk, and also it is used for the synthesis of proteoglycans, and it is the pathway which is acting as the source for the UDP glucuronate. Now we will see that how the pathway will be working out. First, the UDP glucose that is formed from the glucose through a series of the reaction similar to the glycogenesis. So you can see this pathway where is the glucose is coming to glucose 6 phosphate, then glucose 1 phosphate, and then later on it will be formed to the UDP glucose. This will be formed when UDP glucose, it will be oxidized to UDP glucuronate by the enzyme one called as the UDP glucose dehydrogenase. This one will be formed into the UDP glucuronate. This one, UDP glucuronate, it will be finally reduced to form into the L-gluconate. L-gluconate, it will be formed by the presence of or the conversion of NADPH to NADP. This will be the conversion. So you can see first the reaction will start from the glucose to UDP glucose, wherein up to the formation of glucose 1 phosphate, it is the one which is, you can find the same reactions which are occurring in the glycogenesis, and then it will be the formation of the UDP glucose, and UDP glucose is oxidized to the UDP glucuronate by the one enzyme called as the UDP glucose dehydrogenase, and this deglucuronate, it will be reduced to the L-gluconate by the one enzyme, by the presence of conversion of the NADPH to NADP. Further, this L-gluconate, which is formed, it is getting converted to the number of these 5 carbon sugars, and finally it will be going into the HMP pathway. Here we are showing here that there is one suppression of this forming into the ascorbic acid, that is vitamin C. This vitamin C can be found to be formed by the presence of this enzyme L-gluconeoxidase. So this one is lacking here in the human beings. So this will not be possible to be synthesized, whereas it can be found possible in the other animals. And in some cases, when there is the absence of this enzyme, this acts as the inhibition or the blockage, and this pathway will not be completed one. So when the deficiency of xylitol dehydrogenase, this one dehydrogenase, if there is the deficiency of this one, it results into the formation of the condition called as the essential pentosouria. It is quite different from the diabetes mellitus condition, but it will be accompanied with the presence of glucose in the urine. So here we have to differentiate it from the diabetes mellitus just by the observation of the presence of glucose in the urine. One should not be considered that he is a diabetic one, whereas that should be cross-checked with the other clinical findings. So the presence of glucose in the urine can be possible if that person is suffering from the deficiency of xylitol dehydrogenase. Now, but the compound that has formed here, L-gluconate, from that it will be forming into the ascorbic acid in some species. Now coming to this UDP glucuronate, it is the one which is acting as the conjugating agent, and after conjugation work, it converts them into the more water soluble one, and that will make that to be transported in the bloodstream very in an easy way, and further it can be excreted from the kidneys. So based on this work or the characteristic of this UDP glucuronate, this one is used by the body for the conjugation of the bilirubin, and in the drug metabolism also it combines and detoxifies them by converting them into the more polar forms, and then it will be excreted out. And also it detoxifies the number of the environmental toxins and potential carcinogens, means some will be the carcinogenic agents which the body can happen to consume many times, or the person may consume that one and they get inserted in the body. That time this will come to the rescue of that person, and it will detoxify it and it will be excreted out from the body. So UDP gluconate also serves as a precursor for the synthesis of glucosaminoglykans like hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, etc. So the biological importance of UDP glucuronate is that one, it first acts as a conjugating agent and it will detoxify many substances, and it will see that it will be excreted out, and because of the functioning of the conjugation it will help for the formation of the bilirubin and steroids, and also for some carcinogenic agents will be there environmentally which may happen, one may happen to consume it, they also will be excreted out of the body, and also it acts as a precursor for the synthesis of glucosaminoglykans, hyaluronic acid and chondroitin sulfate. Regarding the same thing, that is synthesis of ascorbic acid in some animals. So ascorbic acid, vitamin C, is the one which is a water soluble vitamin. When you give the definition for the vitamin, we say that it is an essential component which has to be supplied to the body through the diet, as it is not synthesized in the body. Why it is not synthesized in the body? Because the man will be lacking this enzyme, that is L-gulonolactone oxidase. It is absent in the one man and also the guinea pig. Rest of the animals can synthesize on their own this ascorbic acid in their body. So this the one, it converts the gluconate to the ascorbic acid. So the question are in the viva, a question may be asked, why the synthesis of ascorbic acid it doesn't take place in the human beings. So the answer will be that this is the one, L-gulonolactone oxidase is the one which is absent in the human beings. Hence the conversion of the gluconate to ascorbic acid will not take place, whereas this will take place in the other species or the animals. So the another one which we spoke earlier, that is the essential pentosilia. It is actually a genetic disorder, and it will be the one which occurs due to the deficiency of the enzyme called xylitol dehydrogenase, which I shown you in the last, this one, xylitol dehydrogenase. Because of lack of this one, there will be the accumulation of this one and it will be excreted in the urine. So due to the deficiency of this enzyme, that is xylitol dehydrogenase, which is needed the presence of NADP. If the deficiency of this one will be there, so the L-xylazone, it cannot be converted into the xylitol. So there will be the occurrence of the essential pentosurium, we call that one, which means that there will be the excretion of sugar in the urine. So that may give positive test with the one test we do, which we all happen to process in the laboratory in the practical, that is the Benedict reagent test. That is when you take a Benedict reagent and just adding 8 drops of the urine, and if you heat it under the flame, there will be the conversion of the original blue color of the Benedict reagent into the either yellow, brown or orange PPT, depending upon the concentration of the glucose it is present in the urine sample. So such positive result will be given when those persons are tested for the Benedict test. But just by the because of that reason that they have given positive for the Benedict test, they should not be labeled or identified with the diabetes mellitus. On the contrary, they have to be cross-checked with the other clinical findings and also some other test also. Now coming to the another metabolism, that is the metabolism of the galactose. So the disaccharide lactose, which is present in the milk and milk products, it is the principal dietary source of the galactose. The lactase, one enzyme which hydrolyzes the lactose into the galactose and the glucose. But galactose also can be produced by the lysosomal degradation of the glycoproteins and the glycolipids. And one thing to be remembered here, that the way that glucose or the glucose entry into the cell, it is dependent on the availability of the insulin. Means there should be simultaneously the secretion of insulin. Then only the blood glucose, the glucose formed in the blood, can get entered into the cell. Whereas the galactose and fructose, they don't need the help of the insulin. It means fructose and galactose, they are free of the insulin help. So when you look at the structure of these two, glucose and the galactose, they have got the same structure, just with the one epimerization at the carbon around 4, where you can find the changes here. So they are can be called as the epimers. The glucose and galactose, they are called epimers of them, and you can see the changes at the 4th carbon. So galactose is the one which is metabolized by the liver. So what happens, as it is totally or exclusively processed, getting metabolized in the liver, when the liver function tests are done, or to find out how efficiently the liver is functioning, one can add this galactose tolerant test to confirm the liver's ability and can be found. However, there are other batteries of the tests which come under the heading of liver function test. Just to remind you, the tests that are coming under the liver function test is, that is the protein level, albumin level, globulin level, and then the levels of bilirubin, that is conjugated, unconjugated, and with addition of these two as the total bilirubin, and certain enzymes like the AST, ALT, and alkaline phosphatase. These are the ones which are routinely done to assess the functioning of the proper functioning of the liver. So Apart from this, what I mentioned, the test, this also can be added in that one, that is galactose tolerance test, because this galactose, it gets synthesized or metabolized exclusively in the liver only, and also it is the one which is essential for the formation of certain glycoproteins, cerebrosides, and milk during the lactation. So this is the importance of the galactose. So here you can find here that galactose in first step, it gets converted into the galactose 1-phosphate, and galactose 1-phosphate, it will be getting converted into the UDP galactose by the enzyme called UDP galactose 4 epimerase. Just see that phosphate in the uniform galactose, and it will be galactose util transferase. So from this one, it will be getting converted into the UDP galactose and glucose phosphate. This UDP glucose galactose, so it will be just getting converted into UDP glucose in the presence of UDP galactose epimerase. Once this UDP glucose is formed, then this will follow into the pathway of the glycogenesis, and from glycogen, and then coming to the formation of the glucose. This is the way how the galactose metabolism takes place. Galactose 2, galactose 1-phosphate in the presence of one enzyme called as galactose kinase, and from there galactose kinase, it will form into the two things, that is UDP galactose and glucose 1-phosphate, and then in the presence of the galactose 1-phosphate uridine transferase. Whereas this UDP galactose, it gets converted into the UDP glucose in the presence of UDP galactose 4 epimerase, and then this, once this form UDP glucose, it follows the pathway of glycogenesis, followed by glycogen converting into the glucose 6-phosphate, and finally the product glucose. This is how the metabolism of the galactose takes place. Same one is written here. So there is one condition called as the galactosemia. So when there is some deficiency of the enzymes in the metabolism of galactose, then the condition occurs which is identified as the galactosemia. It is definitely the inherited disease or inborn error of the galactose metabolism. So this will be caused by the deficiency of the galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase. Just as shown here, this enzyme, if there is the deficiency of this one, then the situation comes of the galactosemia. So it causes a rise in the galactose in the blood and urine, and leads to the accumulation of the galactose and galactose 1-phosphate in the blood, liver, brain, kidney, and the eye lenses. So the galactosemia will be confirmed by doing the galactose tolerance test. The person will be given about 40 gram of the galactose to the body, and after 1 hour the blood will be collected and it will be checked for the presence of galactose. So if the values are exceeding more than 60 milligram per 100 ml, then it indicates of the condition called as the galactosemia. So the clinical findings will be that this accumulation of galactose and galactose 1-phosphate, which occurs in the liver, brain, and the eye lenses, it will have the bad impact on the liver. So there will be the one condition where the liver will be dysfunctioning, and it will be confirmed by the condition called as the hepatomegaly, and it will be followed by the cirrhosis of the liver. Apart from that one, if the condition is more worsening, then you can find the patients will be suffering from the mental retardation, cataract formation, and renal damage will be there, and also amino aciduria. Amino aciduria means there will be more amount of the amino acids they get excreted through the kidney. That condition is called as the amino acid urea. So the persons who are suffering from the galactosemia will be having these clinical pictures will be there, and the treatment for them will be that the galactose in the milk and milk product should be eliminated from the diet, so that the person can survive or he can tolerate this condition. So the cataract formation is the one which is more prominent in the infants because of the galactosemia. So you can see that there is the formation of cataract in the childhood people, infants literally. You can see here, this is the cataract formation is already taken place. There comes one more test in the biochemistry, that is lactose intolerance. This is the one which indicates the inability to digest the significant amount of the lactose that is present in the milk in the form of the sugar. So it is the one which affects every people, means almost, means there is no any binding for that it will affect only the child, or even it can affect the adults also. So this reason for the lactose intolerance is that there will be the shortage of the enzyme that is called as the lactase. So lactase actually what it does? It does that it breaks down the lactose milk sugar into the glucose and the galactose, and then further it will be absorbed in the bloodstream. Usually what happens, the clinical findings in this lactose intolerance, what happens, there will be always the abdominal pain will be there, and diarrhea will be there, nausea will be there, and if it is person is feeling uncomfortable from 30 to 2 hours after consuming the meal, it indicates the presence or the existence of the lactose intolerance. So for that purpose, there are two tests are mentioned. That is, one is the hydrogen breath test, and another one is the test related to the stool. The first one is that hydrogen breath test. The patient drinks the lactose loaded beverage, and then the breath is analyzed at the regular intervals to measure the amount of the hydrogen. So if the person is normal, very less amount or negligible amount of the hydrogen will be detectable in the breath, but because of the the lactose intolerance, as there will be undigestion of the lactose will be there, so high amount of the hydrogen will be formed, so which can be detected by this test. For performing the test, the patient should be cautioned that he should avoid the smoking or medications prior to the undergoing to the test of this one, so that one can get a good accurate results. Another one is test is that is stool acidity test, we call that one, that is will be used for the infants and the young children to measure the amount of acid in the stool. So even there is presence of the undigested lactose, so that converts the things into the lactose will be converted into the lactic acid, and this can be detected in the stool sample. So these are the two tests that will be done to check the lactose intolerance. So coming to the metabolism of fructose. Fructose is the one which is taken along with the glucose as the example for the monosaccharides. So the dietary sources are very cheaply available. They are cane sugar, honey and the fruits. That one thing should be remembered, that it is the one which is not controlled by the insulin, and the main metabolic site for the fructose is the liver, and definitely fructose is the one which is considered as the source for the energy, and the spermatozoa which uses the fructose for the energy. Now coming to the metabolism of the fructose is phosphorylated to fructose 1 phosphate by the enzyme fructokinase. Fructose is phosphorylated to fructose 1 phosphate in presence of the enzyme fructokinase. This fructose 1 phosphate, it will be cleaved by the one enzyme called as the liver aldolase B. That is aldolase B, and it will be converted into the glyceraldehyde, the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. So this will be done in the presence of the enzyme, that is the tyrokinase, and the formation of the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate will be taken place. And further they may enter the glycolytic pathway, gluconeogenesis or glycogenesis, according to the requirement of the metabolic tissue. Friends, once the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate is formed, that will be getting converted to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, then to fructose 6 phosphate, and then fructose 6 phosphate, then finally the glucose. This is how the fructose is getting converted into the glycogen or the glucose. Here, just have a look at this one, that glucose in presence of aldose reductase, one enzyme, it will get converted into the sorbitol. We'll come to that one in the next slides. So here fructose is converted into the fructose 1 phosphate in presence of fructokinase, and fructose 1 phosphate to the two things, that is dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde in presence of the liver enzyme, that is called as the aldolase B. From then this one is converted to the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate in the presence of this enzyme, that is the triokinase, and then further it will follow the gluconeogenesis or glycogenesis pathway, and in continuous of these reactions it will be converted into the glycogen. So next, a small another pathway is there, that is sorbitol or polyol pathway for the formation of the fructose. This is also called as the sorbitol aldose reductase pathway. It is the one pathway which is required for the formation of fructose from the glucose. You can see that in the slide this way. So in the presence of aldose reductase, the glucose is first converted into the sorbitol, and in the presence of one enzyme, sorbitol dehydrogenase, which is NAD dependent one, it gets converted into the fructose. So the thing is that usually the phosphorylation of the glucose will be taking place by the presence of two enzymes, that is hexokinase and glucokinase. So in the normal way, it gets phosphorylated by the presence of the enzyme that is called hexokinase. But in case of the more amount of the glucose is present, as it will be found in the case of diabetes mellitus, it won't work there. So that time what happens? This saturated hexokinase, it becomes more saturated, and this excess of the glucose, they enter the polyol pathway and it will be reduced to the sorbitol. This, what happens, this reaction is getting oxidized by the course of conversion of NADPH to NADP, and then it will oxidize sorbitol to fructose, sorbitol to fructose. So here the importance of this one is, I will tell in the next one, that is sorbitol formation is useful as the alternative pathway for the sugar for the people with the diabetes mellitus, because it significantly reduces the rise in the blood glucose and insulin response associated with the ingestion of the glucose. But what happens in case of the diabetes mellitus, because of the impairment one, there will be lot of urgency will be there for the conversion of the glucose, but it won't take place and the persons land into the formation of the cataract formation. So the same, that is the effect of hyperglycemia on the sorbitol metabolism. As there is no involvement of the insulin in the metabolism of the fructose, what happens? The entry of the glucose will take place wherein in the cells of retina, lens, and the nerve, and they may enter during the hyperglycemic condition, that is uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, and this will cause the increase in the amount of the sorbitol and they get accumulated in the cell, and this, because of the osmotic damage, they lead to the formation of the cataract one, or the peripheral neuropathy will be there. Neuropathy means there won't be the good action regarding the arteries and other things, whereas nephropathy will be there, which is more related with the kidneys, and retinopathy is the one which is related to the retina or related to the eye one. So these things can happen by the effect of hyperglycemia, which may follow the pathway of the sorbitol, where there will be more accumulation of this sorbitol and leading to the cataract formation. However, the drugs which can restrict the one enzyme aldose reductase, that can help for the controlling the damage that can happen to the peripheral nerve functions in the diabetes, because in the diabetes these are the quite common symptoms, or the secondary one apart from the diabetes mellitus, which will have the side effect. So these can be avoided. Otherwise, usually a diabetic person, after the history of the diabetes for the 7 to 10 years, he will land either in the nephropathy or retinopathy or the neuropathy, or all the three together can come to a person where there is uncontrolled level of the blood glucose. So another thing is that disorder of this fructose metabolism, which we refer that as the essential fructosuria. It is a rare and benign genetic disorder. So this disorder will be caused by the deficiency of the enzyme called as the fructokinase. What happens? Because of the absence of this fructokinase, the fructose will not get converted into fructose 1-phosphate. And in the benign, because why we call that benign? Because there won't be any toxic effect of the fructose accumulation in the liver, and the patient remains for a longer time as an asymptomatic patient, and just there will be the excretion of the fructose in the urine, which one is labeled as the essential fructosuria. So there is another one called as the hereditary fructose intolerance. It will be the one which will be caused by the deficiency of enzyme aldolase B. So fructose 1-phosphate, it cannot be converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde. So what happens? Because of this reason, fructose 1-phosphate gets accumulated, and this results in the inhibition of fructose kinase and impaired clearance of fructose from the blood takes place. And because of the accumulation of the fructose 1-phosphate, it leads to the damage of the liver and kidney. So hyperglycemia will be the one which is indicated of this one, which will be due to the inhibition of glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis, because there will be the formation of the glucose will be inhibited. That's why there will be the condition occurring that is referred as the hypoglycemia. So the treatment for this hereditary fructose intolerance is that to avoid the foods that may be containing the fructose, so that they can tolerate and continue with the normal life. So, apart from that one, what happens if the person happens to take more amount of the fructose in the diabetic condition, because some people they get misguided telling that you can consume the honey, as many people they say it is good for health, but if the person with the diabetic mellitus, if he happens to take the more amount of this honey which is rich in the fructose, that may lead to the very health complications, like there may can be the formation of hyperlipidemia. That is, lipidemia means that is raised triglyceride level, cholesterol level, and decreased HDL cholesterol, along with the bad cholesterol, that is LDL cholesterol will be raised. So that condition will be called as the hyperlipidemia. So that one can happen, and also the cataract formation can be happened, that may happen. So what happens, and also that may lead to the formation of the gout. Gout is the one condition where you can find the person will be suffering from the joint pain, inflammation at the joint sides, that is, and also biochemically you can find that the person's serum uric acid level will be highly raised one. So why that happens? Because the excessive fructose, it uses the inorganic phosphate in making the fructose 1-phosphate. When there is more amount of the fructose is there, it uses the inorganic phosphorus in making the fructose 1-phosphate. So as it is using more amount of this phosphate, the phosphate amount will be depleted, and that may cause the decreased ATP production. So what happens because of this one, that situation will stimulate the purine synthesis and more catabolism will be taking place, and finally it leads to the more increased high level of the uric acid production will be there. When uric acid production will be high, that leads to the formation of the gout. So which will be accompanied with the severe pain at the joint, inflammation at the joint, and raised level of the uric acid. Now coming to the another some carbohydrate one, which are the one labeled as the amino sugar. These are the amino sugar. How you define the sugars which are consisting of the OH groups. One of the OH group will be replaced by the amino group, and then that corresponding sugar will be referred as the amino sugar. The important amino sugars are glucosamine, galactosamine, amine. These are the essential components of glycosaminoglycans, glycolipids, and glycoproteins. So about 20% of the glucose what the body earns, that will be utilized for the synthesis of this amino sugar, which mostly they occur in the connective tissue. So just see that when you look at the structure of this glucose, this OH group, it gets replaced by the amino group. Then it will be called as a one amino sugar, that is glucosamine. This is how the amino sugars will be formed. Now, when we discussed about the glycogen metabolism, that time glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. So during that time, there will be we have found that there will be accumulation of the glycogen which will be stored in the body. So if the more amount of this will be stored, that leads to the health complications. So when there is the accumulation of the glycogen, that is commonly referred as the glycogen storage disease. There are about many different diseases are there. We just will see about 2-3 cases which are more prominently observed in the patients. So the metabolic defects which are concerned with the glycogen synthesis and degradation, they are collectively referred as the glycogen storage diseases. These will be occurring in the patients who will be deficient of some enzymes that are involved in the metabolism of the glycogen. So these are definitely the inherited disorders. They will be characterized by the deposition of the normal or abnormal type of the glycogen in one or more tissues. Some there will be the mild case, in some other cases it will be very moderate or to high levels. So in this one, very prominently observed disease, that is the type 1 disease that is called as the Pohngrike disease. It is the one which is occurring in the persons who are having the deficiency of glucose 6 phosphatase. This one is absent in the liver and intestinal mucosa. So the liver cells, intestinal mucosa, these are loaded with the glycogen, which is normal in the structure, but they are inactive, are not available metabolically. So the inadequate breakdown of the glycogen, it leads to what happens? There will be low level of the glucose will be there. So just I just remember you that the normal glucose level will be between 70 to 110 milligram per deciliter. But the persons who will be suffering from this glycogen storage disease or Pohngrike disease, always it will be accompanied with the hypoglycemia. Means the person will be feeling giddiness, fatigue, other complications related to the hypoglycemia will be seen in these persons. So, as I said, it will be the fasting hypoglycemia. So there will be the decrease in the insulin secretion, and further what happens because of that one, it inhibits the protein synthesis will be inhibited. Similarly, which will be the one other condition, that is lactic acidemia will be there apart from the hypoglycemia. So as the glucose is not synthesized in the lactose, the lactate levels in the blood will increase and pH will be lower. That is means the acidic condition will be occurring. Means the person's blood pH will be lowered. So these all can lead to the metabolic acidosis. And apart from this, fasting hyperglycemia, lactic acidemia, the blood gas, metabolical acidosis, there will be the another feature that is called as the hyperlipidemia will be there. So the, as I said earlier, the high levels of the triglyceride cholesterol will be there and accompanied with the hyperuricemia, that is uric acid level will be increased. The serum uric acid level is between 2.5 to 7 milligram per deciliter. The person who will be suffering from this the Onrike disease, there will be the enlargement of the liver will be there, and you can find this person's belly is very much fatty one because of the liver enlargement, and this is the one which you can identify because it is a hallmark of the disease. Now coming to the another disease, which is the glycogen storage disease, which called as the Pompe disease. That is the type 2, which we discussed in the last class. So here the enzyme deficiency is that is of the alpha-1,4 glucosidase. In this condition, the glycogen, it gets accumulated in the lysosomes of the all the tissues. Here there will be the enlargement of the heart will be there, which we call that as the cardiomegaly, and also nervous system will be affected. However, the hypoglycemic conditions will not be observed, but there will be other two things will be there, that is enlargement in the heart, and the nervous system will also be affected, and death may occur because of the heart failure or the cardiac arrest. So apart from that one, there will be some symptoms will be there which can be called as the related symptoms to this Pompe disease. They can be the infection in the respiratory system, and hearing condition will be very poor, and there will not be the proper growth will be there, and weight gain will not be there, and there can be possibility of muscle weakness and trouble in the breathing. All these things can be accompanied along with this disease. Then coming to the another one, that is glycogen storage disease, that is called as the amylopectinosis or Anderson disease. The deficiency of the enzyme is glucoside 4,6 transferase, that is the branching enzyme, and the glycogen deposit will be very abnormal one, and the organs that are affected here similarly the liver, heart, muscle and kidney, and there will be a moderate low level of the sugar will be there, but apart from that one, the infection will be there with the stomach, where you can find the accumulation of the fluid, which is referred as the cirrhosis of the liver and hepatic failure, and ultimately the person may get the death very soon. So these are the glycogen storage diseases which can occur, which you can consider them as the inherited disease or inborn errors. So here you must have seen that there is the deficiency of some or other enzymes will be there, which can make for the accumulation of this glycogen, and the proper utilization of the glycogen will not be taking place. So these are related to the glycogen storage diseases, which are exclusively they are the inherited diseases. So with this one we are completing regarding the metabolism of the carbohydrates. However, in the next classes we will deal with the other things, that is the blood regulation of the glucose. We will see that one in the next class. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, beta. Thank you.